Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hey folks, welcome back to another episode of Side Quests, and this is another milestone episode. And folks, we're at 400 episodes, which feels insane to say out loud. And like the idea that we could ever do 1,000 of these seemed impossible. But like now that we're almost at 500, it seems plausible, but not yet possible.
I'm not exactly sure why we decided on this release schedule, but it seems to be working so far. But it does mean a lot of episodes.
Yeah. And I am, of course, joined for a milestone episode about a specific game, but we are doing a panel version of the Side Quest format. And as always, I, of course, am the series producer and one of the hosts of the main show on this feed, Fun and Games, Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon. I'm a DJ, podcaster, producer, and I am joined by two incredible guests. First, as always, my comrade in arms, my bestie on the pod, the one and only Geoff Moonen.
Hi there, everybody. Yes, I am the other half of Fun and Games podcast. I'm a voice actor. I am a games journalist, and I just generally like going places and talking about stuff I like.
And for this episode, on the game that we're going to talk about in a minute, we are joined by the prolific podcaster, streamer, and writer, the one and only Thrak from the 3DO Experience and Call of Duty Thrak Ops. Thrak, thank you for joining us.
Hello. Hi. Thank you both for having me. It's crazy that you guys are at 400, and it's even more crazy that you decided to have me on for this milestone. So this asshole here feels humbled and honored.
I mean, you completed the first important step. You volunteered.
That's true. That is true.
Yes, I am a podcasting whore. I will show up on anything.
And how?
And
yeah.
how?
So before we go, I have to ask one question. Which one's fun and which one's games?
You think we're just going to give away the secret sauce?
Yeah, you gotta tune into the main show.
Do I have to wait till
that.
1,000, man?
Yeah, maybe. Well, we got
forever waiting.
Right.
Forever waiting. Which
Yeah.
one of us
Okay,
seems
fine.
more like we're forever in quotes?
Yeah, see, that's how you do it.
I feel like that is a double-edged sword question, so I'm not answering.
There it is. There
Smart.
it is. That's why. Here we are.
I'm pleading the Fifth Amendment. That still exists, right? I can't tell anymore.
As long
who
as it
knows
exists,
these
you
days?
can plead it, and then forever after, you won't be heated.
Okay.
Of course, if that sounds familiar, he guested on episode 338 talking about the original Shining Force, a classic video game.
I have a complete in-box copy of it now.
Damn.
That's amazing. Hell
Yes. Oh, beautiful.
But we are not here to talk about Shining Force this time. We are here to talk about a WayForward game from one of my favorite series. It is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. This came out in 2014 originally. It was on the Nintendo 3DS. And then proceeded to be released on like everything after that. So the original release date in North America was October of 2014. It was in PAL regions by February of the following year, 2015, and in Japan last at the end, near the end of 2015 in November. Then it came out for the Wii U as well, December of the 2014 original year, and so on. It cascades. It was released for Microsoft Windows in 2015, Amazon Fire TV in October of 2015, Xbox One in 2016, PlayStation 4 in 2016 as well, and then the Switch in 2018, which is how I originally played this game before playing the 3DS version. The Luna, if you remember that, in 2020.
I do.
And then the last release, of course, was on the PS5 in 2022. This game is a platform game / Metroidvania and is part of a franchise that Geoff and I have gushed about before. And before we get into the depths of this game, we're going to talk a little bit about our personal experience. And it's always interesting with newer titles, like when we cover stuff like Super Mario World, like there's this breadth of time that we can harken back to. But this game, like anyone who has listened to me talk about, if you read my article on Shantae Advance, you know I blame Geoff for my fandom of this franchise for lending me Half Genie Hero. So I wouldn't go on to play this game for many, many years. I played it for the first time on the Switch after I had acquired basically the entire Switch, all of the Switch ports. except this game. This game was the only one that there wasn't a physical copy for at the time on Switch. It was out of print on the 3DS. This was 2 or 3 years ago. And so I bought it digitally. It's one of the only games in the series that I own digitally. And I loved it. I played it on the Switch. It was a fun time, runs great on that console, and really enjoyed it. It wouldn't be until the replay for this very podcast that I would finally play the 3DS version that they re-released, I think, last year. They reprinted it. I think it was ported by another company, Rising Star. I can't remember the name of the company that ported it.
Rising Star, I think.
Rising Star. And that's how I replayed it for this. I have a love of the Shantae series that I've shared in many places. Like I said, I blame Geoff for my initial love of the franchise, but then the year that I bought this game and first played it, I think is now 2 or 3 years ago now. It was right around when Seven Sirens came out. I acquired the other games, went back and played literally all of them from start to finish, all the way through Seven Sirens. And I fell in love with this franchise deeply. And then this year I got to play the Game Boy Advance game that was never to be, that was finally to be, as they got to go back and finish a game that was skipped in Shantae Advance, Risky Revolution, which is now, as of when we're recording, actually released.
It is currently out on all modern platforms. It shadow dropped on August the 19th. I picked it in my fantasy draft, and I kept looking at the Metacritic going, guys, please get a fucking Metacritic score on it. I eventually did. It took a while because I was getting mad.
Real.
And so the series now complete, and now I guess they'll turn their attention towards a new entry in the franchise. But I really love this game, and I'm excited to talk about it. But let's go to Geoff next, because Geoff, I don't actually know your entire history with this franchise. I know that you got me into it, and when we had first started hanging out and playing games, you had already had Half Genie Hero. But I feel like you're also a relatively recent convert to this franchise.
Relatively, yes. I mean, Shantae was the series that I remember when the first one came out back in 2002 for the Game Boy Color. It was a latter day release. The Game Boy Advance was already out. So, like a lot of titles for certainly Nintendo systems where the next one was already out, people had gotten so good at the console or had whatever idea that it was out, it was really good, no one bought it. And so I remember Shantae in like whatever little corner review of a Game Informer or something that was like, yeah, this has it. This is great. Check it out. And I never found it and I never got it. And then the next one was Risky's Revenge, because Risky Revolution didn't happen until this year. Risky's Revenge was iOS only. And I wasn't really, even back then, in the business of buying a lot of digital games. Most of that was because I was very broke. So Pirate's Curse was my first Shantae game. And I had always been aware of the series. I had always kept an eye on it. It was like, yeah, I know I'm going to like it when I play it. I just things never lined up. And then one day I was at a GameStop and I found a copy of it for 3DS. So this was probably, early 2015, something like that. So it was out, but it wasn't yet a big deal. I checked my database. I spent $22.50 on it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bargain.
Exactly. You look at what it's worth nowadays, super cool. So, yeah, picked it up and it was freaking amazing. It's why we're talking about it here, but that was my entry into the series, and I have since, rectified, going back and playing the older ones through limited run releases and everything else. But Pirate's Curse was my first one, and I remember also seeing a GDQ run of it or something like that not long before I started playing it, where it was talking about the differences between Pirate's Curse and the other games, so I knew what I was getting into a little bit, but I was still excited, and it was still very justified, the wait.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I feel like you told me that the 3DS game was your first one. It's funny, too, like going back and playing it on the 3DS. I have we did a whole 3DS retrospective, which has kind of reinvigorated our love of it.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get into the details of the game, Thrak, when we posted online that we were covering this game, you immediately responded and then within days replayed it long before we even scheduled the episode. So it is clear you're a fan of this.
Draw.
You were. That's how you, like Geoff said, you volunteer, you're in. So are you a huge fan of the entire franchise, just this game? Like, how did you connect to Shantae and this game specifically?
So I didn't hear about Shantae until probably a couple years ago. One of my friends, Chris from the podcast and Novel Console, he's a big Shantae guy. And he was the one who like turned me on to the series. He's like, "Oh, you need to play it, is really cool and all that." And I was like, "Okay." And then I discovered that it was around the time they put the original Shantae on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were like, "Oh, you can play the whole series on one console." And I think they did a sale for like all of them. And I went, fuck it, I got time. Let me just, buy them all and play through them all. And that was, I forget when they put Shantae 1 on Switch. Let me check. 2021. Yeah, so it was around that time. I just went ahead and bought them all and played them all sequentially and was like, yeah, these are like pretty fantastic games. It's the only time I've ever played a series from start to finish in like one go, basically. And they were easy to do. They were all fairly short. And while my opinions on the games range, we're not here to talk about all of them. Some of them I do not like. Pirate's Curse, to me, it's between this one and Seven Sirens. I'd have to replay Seven Sirens as my favorite in the series. So Pirate's Curse, I was like, why not? I'll replay it. It's a quickie, a game. So and I wanted to like see if it stood up to my sort of opinion on it. Like, was it still just as good as I thought it was? So, yeah. And I replayed it on Switch. I resisted the temptation to download it on my Xbox and get all the achievements, but I didn't. At least not this time. I'll probably do it later.
There's always time for those. And I should also amend my timeline. I realized that Rising Star did the physical version of the 3DS Shantae, and that was late 2016. So it was probably end of 2016 when I did. I know I had it around the time we started getting ready to start Fun and Games, because that was why when you were like, oh yeah, it was Seven Sirens, or it was Half Genie Hero I started with. I'm like, I didn't give you Pirate's Curse?
Yeah, you didn't actually, because I was looking at your Switch games. It was around the same time
That's
you lent
why.
me Owlboy as well.
That's
I was
right.
like, I was looking for new Switch games to play, and you lent me Shantae and Owlboy, two games that I love, for very different reasons. But yeah, I mean, so I had also originally played it on the Switch. I did play it this time on the 3DS, that brand spanking new copy I got from Limited Run. And let me tell you, this is a 3DS game. What I love about the era of 3DS games like this and Samus Returns and other Metroidvanias on that platform is dedicated map screen, dedicated item select screen. It's incredible. It runs great on the Switch and plays great on the Switch, and switching to the menus is not that difficult, but it's just an extra step in a way that is so much more comfortable on the 3DS. It's safe to say that this is pretty much lauded as the best game in the franchise. People wibble between some of the more modern stuff, but for the most part, this is considered one of the best. It is my favorite as well in the franchise and is at the top of my ranking list. This is my favorite, actually, because it emulates my favorite Metroidvania ever, which is Metroid Fusion, in the sense that it is multiple smaller maps instead of one giant map that you have to explore. And while I know that was like a detriment to a lot of Metroid fans at the time, because Super Metroid was just this big map, and later games would do that too, I liked like how you were kind of railroaded and condensed into certain spaces. There was still exploration to do on those maps. And what I love about Pirate's Curse is it's the same thing. The discovery and exploration still gatekept by like power-ups and stuff, but you are exploring much smaller maps. They are more streamlined than a typical Metroidvania, but there are still things to discover, stuff to explore, things that are gated. And I kind of really like these style of Metroidvanias. They're faster. Like, look, we're recording this imminently before Silksong comes out, and like I understand why folks I understand why people like games like that and the original Hollow Knight, but like those games are 25 hours long. Like, it's long for a Metroidvania, and there are long Metroidvanias I've played that I've loved, but to me the pinnacle of this franchise are the shorter games, your Castlevanias, Symphony of the Night, stuff like that.
It's the type of game that benefits being on a portable device.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it allows the scope to be more condensed, and also with having the smaller chunks, it's easier to like make stopping points for people, to where it's like, oh, okay, this is a good point where I can stop and get back to do what I had to do. I mean, even like say Super Metroid, I would argue it has like sections.
Oh, it does.
You know,
Yeah.
like parts of the map is sectioned off, but it's more seamless compared to, say, Fusion, where it's like, oh, go to level 5, now go to level 3, now go to level 4, right? Like, also, I think people just don't like that Fusion just talks to you too much. And
Yeah.
I think that's its one downgrade. Is
I would
that
agree.
It talks a little bit too much, but Fusion is my favorite in the series as well.
I've gone on record saying before that Metroid Fusion is a fantastic game, but it also does things that you can look back and consider original sins within the franchise.
Sure.
And that is one
Yeah.
of them. But there is something to be said for, Super Metroid absolutely had sections. I mean, not even because it's like, oh, that's Norfair, oh, that's Brinstar, but it is still, this is the area that you fall into that you need to be able to get out of until you have everything.
Yep.
They just are a little more subtle about it, and that's not necessarily better or worse. It just is. What a cordoned off area, how it is in Pirate's Curse, where you're kind of going from island to island. It allows for biomes. It allows for quests that exist within that, as well as the notion of revisits. You know, you get a new ability in a Metroidvania, you go, fuck, I'm going to use this everywhere. What did I miss? And a lot of times in earlier islands on Pirate's Curse, you did miss some things, but they are essentially the same thing as health tanks and missile tanks and everything else. Do you want to get everything? Yeah, take all of your upgrades to every island, really thoroughly explore. Take that Metroidvania completionist attitude. But it's not as if, oh man, I missed out on a specific upgrade because I didn't go back to that area. That also cuts down on the replay time. You're not banging your head needlessly.
Yeah, I think Pirate's Curse does a good job of, even though it has all the various sections, it feels very seamless, you know, and the progression is so well designed that it is encouraging you to go back, you know, it's like, I usually don't 100% games, but when I replayed it for this, I was just like, let's just do it, you know, and it wasn't really terribly difficult to do at all. I did pull up a walkthrough for some of the more puzzly aspects of it, but it wasn't really
one or
too
two
bad.
cackle bats are in some weird spots.
It's not as bad as Hollow Knight.
No, and it does a really nice job.
I joke about Hollow Knight because I take issues with it, but it's definitely a game I need to like replay, because when I played a bit of the first one, I just went, I don't get it.
It's fair.
It's not bad, I just don't get it, but I should give it another try.
Yeah, of course. Well, and also it's funny in my replay of Pirate's Curse to remember how well they telegraph to you from the get-go there's stuff that's out of reach, and you're gonna come back for this. It's okay. You know, that heart squid is still gonna be there bopping along.
Yeah. One of the interesting things about Pirate's Curse for me is that when I got to this game, right, for the first time, I had played through the original Shantae and Risky's Revenge, right? And there were good and bad things about both games, but it was interesting how those games were really trying to employ like the genie powers, right? Like that was whole Shantae's thing.
Traversal, transformations.
Exactly. And then Pirate's Curse is like, we're getting rid of that. We're just throwing it away, and you have to use all of like the stuff Risky has just kind of laying around to kind of make up for the genie powers. So like on one hand, it's almost kind of like throwing away the identity that it had set for itself. But in doing that, it kind of improves the game, because the genie powers, I think, got better later.
Yeah.
But in the first two games, they were cool. But I think WayForward had some issues trying to like fit them into kind of the game design that they were trying to create. And with Pirate's Curse, to me, they just wanted to make more of just like a standard search action kind of game. And this was sort of the way they did it. And in making something a little bit more, I guess, standard, quote unquote, it ended up being kind of the breakthrough point in the series. Because I think this is the game where people started to take notice of the series.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
It is sort of, and in that same way that people go like, oh, Pirate's Curse is the best one of the series, it's that thing of you never forget your first, or the first one of the series in a way is the best one always in your eyes, no matter what improvements happen later. And you're right. Pirate's Curse is kind of where the Shantae series came into its own. And yeah, I think doing the transformations and the dances in the first two games were cool, but a little clunky, a little slow. They were working with the interfaces that they had and the design ideas that they had. After that, it got a lot quicker. It got a lot smoother. And so integrating Risky's pirate equipment into the traversal and overcoming of obstacles for Shantae in Pirate's Curse, you get something that is a lot more seamless. And that's like, well, we can't slow it down in future titles. So I think that all served to propel things forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's funny you mentioned the not having the genie power. So narratively, this game, in the third game, which was technically the second game at the time, but now it's the third game because they made the second game anyway. Third or fourth. It would
be the fourth technically if you put advance between
because we had Shantae and
Risky.
Risky's Revenge, and now we have Risky's Revolution.
Yeah.
So in the third game, Shantae loses her powers. Because she sacrifices them to stop the big bad. And so without powers, she's now just a regular person. And because of that, Risky still needs her help, but brings her along and they slowly find her equipment. Like the Pirate King was cursed and banished. Turns out Risky double-crossed him. Now he's coming back and Risky needs help. What I love about this game, there's humor in all the games. Matt Bozon does a great job writing these games. There's a particular kind of humor that I'm familiar with. When Matt Bozon is working on something, it's like, oh, that joke is a Matt Bozon joke. But I feel like whereas in the first two games, it's there, especially in the second game. This game is where I think all of the characters really find their footing as characters. They're voiced in this game. They have one-liners here and there, and even just the way the game starts with Ammo Baron taking over the town because the mayor sold it for a box of chocolates or whatever.
He sold it for a very small amount of money, which he then spent immediately on waxy chocolates that gave him a terrible tummy ache.
Yes. And so and then every time you go back to the town, it's more and more Ammo Baronified. I really love those bits, or how Sky gets married suddenly to one of his soldiers, all of that stuff. I don't want to spoil all of it, but it's really unique writing, but it still has that heart that Shantae has. There are lessons to learn. There's character moments that are really great. Everything with oh my god, I'm blanking on the zombie character's name
Roddy
now.
Tops.
Thank you. Roddy Tops' entire
Roddy
arc
Tops.
in this game is excellent. They really do something with her and her brothers and really give them background in a way that they hadn't really had before. And I really love that.
How dare you? Roddy Tops is always top tier.
It's true.
Well, I think the way the stuff they do to Roddy Tops in this game, I think it's because they realize that she's a fan favorite.
Yeah.
So they're like, we should do some more with her for sure.
And not in an overly servicey kind of way. Just let's develop her.
The servicey stuff happens a little later.
The servicey stuff happens all the goddamn time. It's Shantae.
Yeah. But what I like about that fan servicey stuff is that it's always done with a wink and a nod.
Oh yeah.
It's not explicit or it's the selling point of the game. It's just they're we know. We're just being a little cheeky,
Yeah.
And and that kind of sits with the writing. It's kind of that millennial kind of ironic type of writing,
but
that I think it works
right.
for what it's trying to do.
And but it keeps sincerity, which is why I think it works. I'm reminded of the entirety of every interaction with Bran's son in the main town. There is a little bit of what makes a role model or not, where Shantae is just I'm not exactly a role model due to my crass attitude and manner of dress, but I do my best.
Yeah. I mean, and all of those moments are really great. I think that ultimately these games, narratively, they have stuff going on, but the narrative, it's all about the gameplay and the mechanics and the characters. I also like the cheeky moments, when you get kidnapped in the desert world and then every other female character has been kidnapped and you're all stuck in the same basically slave Leia outfit.
And it becomes a stealth game.
And it becomes a stealth game, and then you make comments about the outfits too. It's just very funny.
The resolution of that arc is very interesting to me.
Your mileage may vary on it, but it was. I think it was well done.
I could see somebody not liking how that ends, but I think. But again, it fits in with that kind of tongue in cheek
as a
vibe.
Chuck Jones Looney Tunes ass gag.
Yeah.
That part is
it's absolutely Looney Tunes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean by it is well executed. Whether you like the arc of the swing, it is well executed.
And I feel like it's the execution that matters more with that kind of stuff.
I agree.
I think when people tend not to like it, it's because it just didn't work. not because it's like kind of funky, you know?
I agree.
Yeah, it's why I find that I gravitate towards a lot of WayForward games. I think it's why Geoff and I like Jars Rising so much. It's that kind of tongue-in-cheek nature. Like, let's not take this too seriously, but we can still have heart and have some messages and have a story to tell, but without it being like dark and dreary and over the top, which like those games have their place too. But there's this kind of like fight between goofiness and heart that most of WayForward's games have that I've played and I really appreciate.
When they're not trying to pay the bills.
Yes.
Right.
There's a lot of WayForward games that are just them paying the bills.
Oh, absolutely. But you can.
But we're not here to talk about.
No, we're not.
those.
But this is the Shantae series is an example of games that WayForward sincerely makes for themselves. For
yes, that's what I like about the Shantae series is that it all feels like it's a passion project.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where I think the love for the series comes from is that you can feel the love from the developers as they make it. You know what I mean?
It goes a long
like
way.
they don't have to keep making them, but they do because they want to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into the episode without talking about Jake Kaufman, a fan favorite of mine and Jeff's. The original composer for Shovel Knight is also the composer of the majority of the Shantae titles, the Seven Sirens, and then the most recent Shantae Advance. He's worked on, but also they have another composer whose name escapes me that's also been working on the series, like in collaboration with Jake. But like the music in all of these games are great, but there's some, like the punch that's in the Shantae and the Pirate's Curse soundtrack. Like I think this is my favorite of them. I really do like Seven Sirens as well, but this one it's just like it took the repeated tracks from the previous games and amped them up, and all the new tracks like really fit the vibe of this next level of a Shantae game.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed the soundtrack in this one as well. It fit really well. And yeah, Jake Kaufman, he's doing Mina the Hollower.
Yeah.
Yuzo Koshiro. Like, talk
so
about
excited.
top tier shit right
I
there.
mean, he's been doing top tier shit for the last 25 years.
I know. I meant that's like he's working with Yuzo Koshiro.
This is true.
One of the all-time greats.
It's nice that he gets the recognition. But yeah, I've always enjoyed, even in his earlier like VG mix days, his sense of percussion and rhythm, the sort of thing that always makes you think of like Sega Genesis style FM synthesis, utilizing harmonic motion and everything else as well to drive what's going on. It is a lot of his early work has been in handheld games, and that same way of like session based but still pushing you forward, the music serves that very well.
Yeah. I also do love the several recompositions of not Sequin Land, of the hometown, because like the home base area, because as it gets more armor barony, like the music changes too as you come back and like evolves with it. Little touches like that are some of my favorites. I think the thing though that really drew the three of us to this game and is why it's a celebrated game within this franchise is the gameplay. It's got some of the tightest controls, combat, and like traversal of any of the Shantae games. The later games have some great stuff too, but there's something about using Risky's weapons, like I think of the sword dash or the hop, all those kinds of moves that then get utilized later in the game. Metroid games always make you use what you found later in the game, but I've never experienced a game that has quite the gauntlet that this game, where the whole final level is basically, oh, you think you learned how to use these items, huh? And makes you. And like I was cursing, I was sending in our group chat, like I'd apparently like trauma forgotten how bad that castle is.
Yeah, you were pissed.
Big mad.
I was also pissed because the way I hold my 3DS, my pinkies are under it to support it. Unfortunately, that's also where the power button is, and the 3DS power button is very sensitive. So after I'd gotten most of the way through that goddamn castle, I turned off my console by accident and had to do it.
You rage quit on accident?
And had to do it all over again.
That's rare.
No.
Yeah.
Man.
That's amazing.
I did finish it though, and like ultimately I can do it, and it is rewarding to get through that gauntlet. But what I love is that this game really trains you for it, and like all of those momentum-based like puzzles that you're solving using these abilities are just so tightly crafted. Like I feel like other Metroidvanias do that as well, but there's something specific about this game that I think feels pretty flawless. Like besides the Pirate Master's Castle, which I hate, most of this game is a breeze and a blast to play, and it's because of how tightly it plays.
Well, something I'm thinking about here is how there's a lot of more modern Metroidvanias that utilize the upgrades and try to make this very smooth experience that is traversal, is combat, is everything else. I also, as of when we recorded this, I just got back from PAX West and played a demo of Fallen Tier Ascension. Had a great time playing it. It has this really cool like spear flash step mechanic where you hold the button and aim with the analog stick, and it does a really good job, but it reminded me of a lot of these games that do these kinds of things where you are almost trying to look cool while you do it. And Pirate's Curse, all of the traversal upgrades, because all of the upgrades that you get are traversals. Even the sword, which cuts through things, just means you get somewhere faster because enemies aren't stopping you. Not any sort of like flashy combat move. The combat remains the same. You whip your hair back and forth to destroy everything. And everything else is about tight, cool platforming. And I think keeping those pillars separate isn't always the right way to go in a game design. But for Pirate's Curse, that's what works.
It's definitely one of the few search action games that I think gets the upgrades right. Because in my experience, there have been a few where you'll get certain upgrades and it's like, oh, you like never use it except for like the one or two times where it immediately gives it to you.
Yeah, 3 minutes later, you've forgotten it exists.
Exactly. But Shantae, it doesn't give you that many.
Right.
So you don't have like too much to deal with as well, which is some of them it's just like, guys, cool it down. But Pirate's Curse, I think it gives you just enough so that every time you go back and re-explore things, the idea with the upgrades is that it reshapes how you view the world and how, it's like you can get from, where you need to go. And yeah, and I think Shantae just Pirate's Curse does a really, really good job of using the upgrades, keeping them consistent, and doing a good job of reshaping all of these areas so when you revisit them, they almost feel brand new.
Yeah, it's sort of directional. You have lateral movement, you have up and down, you have speed, you have all of that. It almost makes you think more than what you think of in a search action game, a Metroidvania game. It makes you think of Zelda 2, where there is only a few spells. There's only up slash and down slash as far as things you learn, but you use pretty much all of them, and they all serve a function in how you get around. Versus, a lot of times where it's like, cool, I have a double jump, I have forms I can turn into, I have 3 different ways to go slightly faster for just a second.
Yeah.
I can aim at 5 things at once if I remember that I can do that. You're right, it is just a few moves. Yeah, it's not,
say, Ori and the Blind Forest, where to me, at a certain point in that game, it feels like, oh, now the game starts. Mm-hmm. To me, it's when you get like the bash ability is when Blind Forest gets really good. But the rest of it feels like it's just kind of building up to that moment, and it kind of drags the game down for me. But Will of the Wisps does a much better job with that. So, and also, I don't like Zelda 2, so how dare you?
I think Zelda 2 is one of those games that is absolutely a great idea that was beholden to the medium in which it was in and the time in which it came out. There have been so many good games have come out that have been inspired by Zelda 2.
Yeah. It's one of the few Zelda games I think Miyamoto regretted.
Yeah, it's possible, but I saw where they were kind of going with some of it, and I think there was a lot of great ideas in it. I've
tried it many times. I'm like, I can't.
Oh, I'm not saying you got to play it and love it or anything. You don't have to kiss your great aunt, but your great aunt is a wonderful lady, and she fought the Nazis with her bare hands, okay? You put some respect on her name.
Oh, she knows.
She knows.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly. It's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, I think what makes Shantae and the Pirate's Curse now, having played it for a second time, such a satisfying search action game is, again, it doesn't waste your time. I think it's why I like Fusion so much. Super Metroid definitely wastes your time. Meridia exists, so it wastes your time. Full stop.
The scanning. Scanning.
That too.
And there's a reason they got rid of it.
Scanning is a concept. Not bad. Stopping to scan every little thing because that's what they expect you to do, bad idea.
Yeah. But like, I like Metroidvanias that don't waste your time and let you kind of move quickly. Also, like, Shantae doesn't take a ton of time to ramp up. Like you were saying, like the story kind of kicks off right from the get. Like as soon as you boot up, Ammo Baron's invading the town and you have to try and stop him. And of course you fail due to politics.
And they bake it into the story that like you rushed in headstrong, guns blazing, and look where it got you.
Right, you got fired, and then you have to go
Yeah.
to the town hall, and then because you basically got a summons to court.
Yeah, and it's great because it fits Shantae's personality. She's absolutely
Yes.
gung ho, like head first, whipping her fucking hair at everything. She's like, I'm gonna do this, you know.
You're a bad
Everyone-
guy. I'm going to stop you. What about the law?
Yeah, but like I really do love how this game plays and controls, and I think that it being the tight experience that it is why it's probably considered one of the best. You know, as much as I love Seven Sirens and Half Genie Hero, there are moments where it slows down, or maybe there are moments that are better than others. I think a lot of the Shantae games have those moments. It doesn't necessarily make them bad games, but there's definitely, it doesn't have the pace that this game has. This game has
Yes.
a breakneck pace that none of the other games have. For better or worse, that's just how this operates.
Yeah, like Seven Sirens, its biggest issue is that it's very ambitious. It's like the biggest game in the series. And while I like it, as I would agree, there are moments where it does kind of drag. And Half Genie Hero, I've never really been a big fan of Half Genie Hero, but you know, that's a whole nother topic. So
That's fair. But the thing is, too, when I started my playthrough, I had a completed file on my 3DS copy. And so when you start up a new game of Pirate's Curse, if you have a completed file, it gives you an option between starting the game normal or going into pirate mode, where you are playing the game, the story's the same, but you have all of the unlocked pirate abilities. No combat upgrades or anything like that. You still have to buy those because that's how you get them. But if you want all of the things you find for traversal, you've already got them. This makes certain early parts of the game, if you want to grab a few extra things, a little faster, a little breezier. And there is a little bit of a feeling of power of just like, look at how many jumps I can do, ha 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 ha. But it doesn't break the game. And it doesn't become a thing of like, all of the bosses are meaningless because I am godly and powerful. It just makes getting around a little more satisfying and delightful. And I think that also speaks well to the pacing.
do you have to unlock that by beating the game the first time?
I think so, yes.
Okay, yeah, because in some ways it reminds me of like in Resident Evil games where you play it a second time and they're like, "Oh, look, here's all the fun toys. Just go nuts,
Yeah.
have fun."
Right.
You did it the hard way. Here's the easy way.
Yeah, you have to unlock it. It's a bit of a new game plus, but it's not, again, it's nothing but those traversal tools that you unlock through the islands. So it's not exactly like, oh no, Ammo Baron's the first boss. Well, I have an unlimited ammo rocket launcher. Ha ha ha. It is, I can float a little, I can jump a little, I can run a little faster. It's not, it doesn't break the game or the pacing. It's just makes the traversal part a little bit breezier.
Yeah, and I'm sure speedrunners love it.
Oh yeah, no. The first, that GDQ run that I mentioned was in pirate mode.
Oh, of
So
course.
watching them from the get-go use everything was mind-blowing.
Something else I want to talk about and praise in this game is its art direction. It's the first time we get the updated high-res character art, but we still have pixel art for the character models. And while I love where the games go and that we get this almost hand-drawn kind of aesthetic, anime aesthetic in the later games, including from, videos, cartoons, the intro to Half Genie Hero and to Seven Sirens are some of the best.
Oh, I love that Seven Sirens intro. It was done by what was the studio that did crap, I can't remember. Kill la Kill. The studio
wasn't-
did Kill la Kill.
Wasn't Trigger, was it?
I think it was Trigger, yeah.
Studio Trigger, yeah.
Yeah. Love that intro to Seven Sirens.
And so, I like that aesthetic, but this is my favorite game because it's the last game to have the aesthetic that I think looks best. It took the pixel art of the first two games, technically now the first three games, and really refined it. And I'm a pixel art junkie. I think pixels look better than most other designs. It's just they age better for sure. And the minute I booted this up, it's why I love the Game Boy Advance so much because I think it has some of the best sprite art in the history of video games. But I love the design of this. I love how it's complemented by the hand-drawn art as well for the still character portraits. That also, a huge variety of character portraits, too, for each character. But, I love how this game looks. I love the pixel art. I love how kind of chunky a lot of the characters are. I love Ammo Baron's design. This big, broad, wrestler-looking dude with one eye. I really love the design of this game. And while the later games still have a cool art direction, the fact that it becomes more hand-drawn, it bums me out a little bit because this is like peak Shantae design for me. I just really love how everything looks.
It's interesting now that I'm looking at it. Shantae almost has a slightly different design every game.
Yeah.
Oh,
They're
definitely.
constantly like changing her up like slightly. I mean, she's always had that like anime influence.
Yes.
But it like for sure. But yeah, I think looking at all of them, yeah, Pirate's Curse I think is like my favorite design of the character. You know,
Yeah.
It's like that happy medium, as you said. You know,
Yeah. I'm just a sucker for pixel art, and I think they do a really great job. I think the level designs and the enemy designs look great as well. The level layouts aren't super complex, but they look good. You can tell the different biomes. They do get a little tropey, like desert world, lava world, but even still, they play with those forms a bit, and they look good, and stuff like that reads well, right? That's playing back to like OG Nintendo sensibilities as far as the Mario design and those worlds that are stark differences, whether it's the weather or the layout or whatever. And I think this is the peak of it for the franchise. Not necessarily the layouts for the stages, but for sure the graphics. And there's some people who prefer the newer stuff. Although if you're a fan of pixel smoothing, get out. You're fired. That stuff is criminal.
oh, that Final Fantasy Tactics remaster looks gross to me.
But yeah, so I just wanted to laud and praise how this game looks, because again, like I said, I like the later games, but I think this is the peak of the design I liked the most, in the same way that, like, again, not to keep mentioning Fusion, this is not about that, but I love the design of Samus in Fusion. I think it's one of the best designs of Samus.
Yeah,
and
love the Fusion suit, but
yeah.
It was so good, and the way it fits the story, they can't repeat that suit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. But I do like that these characters, like, this is, I think, the stepping stone to the modern designs for the characters for sure, and the character portraits show it, but it still has that magic of the old school sprite stuff that really kind of makes it come alive. So before we wrap up, I guess we could kind of share our final thoughts about the game. I mean, I think it's kind of, without question, we all have effusive praise for this game. It's a favorite for all of us.
Do we have any negatives on the game?
I mean, I don't really think well, okay, fair enough. You bring up this point. This might as well be where I bitch about it. But, like, I hate the pirate master's castle. I hate it. I understand the purpose of it. I know why it exists. I can conquer it. But, like, the problem for me is that it's such a huge spike. None of the boss fights are hard. None of the platforming or navigating or exploration is hard in other areas. It's just in that final castle where they throw it at you and throw you against the wall. Now, they're very generous with respawns. Whenever you fall in a pit in the castle, you only lose a quarter of a heart. So if you've gotten a bunch of hearts, you're not supremely punished for it. It takes a long time to get to a game over before you get to another save point.
Yeah.
But it still, to me, kind of sucks. It's my least favorite part of the game.
I think I would agree to a certain extent, but I think it's because the rest of the game up to that is so, I hate to use the term easy, but, like, it's not really too difficult. So, like, I get that. Like, I feel like the game could benefit from maybe you unlock, say, like, a harder mode where things are a little bit more challenging as well. Because these kind of games, I would prefer to have a little bit more of a challenge, you know?
Sure.
But this is me kind of, like, digging to try to find an issue with it. It's just, I wish it was maybe a little bit harder, you know? Not crazy, but, you know.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's not a perfect game. It's not the greatest game ever, but I think it's really well done, and I don't have any glaring complaints.
Yeah, this isn't the first game.
Yeah. I mean, I love that game.
I have many
but
problems with the original
Yeah.
Shantae.
I think it's infinitely more playable on modern platforms, but the first Shantae is a challenge. But yeah, I love this game. I think it's great. I highly recommend it. I think it's a perfectly fine starting point in the series. Like, I like what Thrak and I have done, where we started from the beginning and played through them all. I think it's a fun way to experience a franchise. But if you were looking to just pick a game to start, like, they basically in the first 10 minutes tell you why Shantae doesn't have any magic and why the pirate master is coming back. Like, it's not complicated narratively, and it's the strongest mechanically, and so it would be easy. You know, I think Risky's Revenge is underrated, but I think this is definitely the good it's the Yakuza 0 of this franchise, right? Like, a strong starting point where they really understand what they're doing,
Yeah, pretty
and
much.
I think a great place to jump in.
Risky's Revenge I would like if it wasn't, like, 2 hours long.
Yeah.
If it was a little bit longer. If that game wasn't kind of rushed to be finished, but that's a whole story with that game's release. Yeah, when it comes to Pirate's Curse, when people have brought up the Shantae series, I always say, "Oh, I played them all," and they're like, "Oh, which one should I play?" And I'm like, if you're only gonna play one, Pirate's Curse is the one to go for. That's the one I always recommend people start with. It is kind of the perfect introduction. Like, it's not too long, it's not too short. It has a nice difficulty curve for an entry level person. It has just enough story to invest you. Controls are tight, music's great. It's just a really good game. It kind of fits with sort of that WayForward trying to make kind of like a 16-bit style game. It just kind of fits into that era.
Yeah, it's the sort of character, the writing and everything may not necessarily be for everybody, but if it is, the gameplay's top notch and you're going to enjoy the game.
Yeah. If you don't care about the story, just skip it. No big deal.
Also that.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like a lot of classic Metroidvanias, you can kind of get the story through context or even skip it. But yeah, I agree with everything you both said. Awesome. Well, Thrak, thank you for joining us for this milestone episode.
Thank you for having me.
I would love for us all to kind of, in case this is someone's first episode, plug where we can be found, and we'll start with our illustrious guest. Thrak, please tell the folks out there in Fun and Games Land where they can find you and the awesome stuff that you make.
Well, my main gig is I am the co-host of the 3DO Experience, where me and my buddy Bill are trying to document the weird, wild, and wacky world that is the Panasonic 3DO. The console, the games, and even talking about when they were a publisher. Like, we've been tackling the Army Men series as well, which has been quite an experience. And also, I've recently started a new show called Thrak Ops, where I am playing every mainline Call of Duty game, doing like a solo run and talking about my experience with those games, because I feel like there was a bit of a hole in our little podcasting circle about shooty bang bang games about war crimes. So I figured I will be the one to document them all and point out where the war crimes happen, of course. So wherever you're listening to this, you can find the 3DO Experience and Thrak Ops at the same place. It is part of the Superpod Network. So if you go to superpodnetwork.com, you can find a whole host of amazing podcasts. Some I've guested on, some I have not. So feel free to check all of those out if you enjoy my sultry tones.
We do love the Superpod Network. A lot of those folks have done side quest episodes, guested on other shows. Bill is the rare, got to do 2 console retrospectives with us, and we thank Bill for that his service.
Bill's a G.
But I mean, Bill's a G. It's without a doubt, full stop. Although when he talks about how old he is, I break out into a rash. But beyond that,
you don't want me to talk about my age either.
No, I know. Geoff, why don't you tell folks where they can find you?
Well, I can be found on the main Fun and Games podcast feed in all of those episodes, and I can be found online in most places as Geoff Makes Noise, GEOFF.
And as for me, of course, I am the producer of this series and can be found here editing these episodes and on the rare occasion hosting them, as well as the main feed show with Geoff. And I can also be found on Reignite, which is also on our podcast network, which I host with the incredible Frankie Bradley Lestrange. We are currently covering the Dragon Age franchise, specifically Dragon Age 2. And if you want to find everything that I'm working on, you go to djstormageddon.com. Consider joining our Patreon. It's because of folks who are a part of our Patreon that we can do awesome stuff like this and celebrate these milestones in the first place. It continues to help us grow this very pod. And you can also find my merch store, all of my podcasts, my socials. I'm most active as djstormageddon.com on Blue Sky. So if you want to chat with me, you can head there. As for us here at SideQuest, I am incredibly humbled that we have done 400 episodes, probably easily over 200 guests, and probably much more, although we do have repeats. I'm looking at you, Dave Jackson, who's done like 10 of them.
Thanks, Dave.
But thanks for being here. We really appreciate you listening. I'm so proud of the show and everything that we've gotten to do. And as always, happy gaming.
Bye-bye.
Hey, you there. This is Nomad speaking. If you love retro video games and you're itching for some nostalgia, check out the Retro Wildlands podcast. In each episode, I'll use game music and sound to pull you into the gaming experience while I share my own thoughts and maybe a few memories. It's a great way to relive one of your favorite games or learn about a new one. Check out the Retro Wildlands podcast at superpodnetwork.com or wherever you listen to your podcast.
CPOV.
CertainPOV.com.